Tonight on Yuba-Sutter.live,
Government Watch. At 6 o'clock tonight, we'll have the Marysville City Council meeting and the 6 o'clock Yuba City City Council meetings. There's important agenda items, so watch tonight. The 6:30 p.m. Marysville Unified School Trustees meeting will carry after the Marysville City Council meeting is finished. Yuba-Sutter.live's Government Watch. Presented by PlumasLakeSelfStorage.com. Wednesday,
local government meetings made shorter. For your information, we pull out informative sections and present them individually. For your information, posting Wednesdays here on Yuba-Sutter.live.
Yuba-Sutter.live, it's the truth that comes through.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at PlumasLakeSelfStorage.com.
Mr. City Attorney, anything to report from closed session?
Mr. Mayor, there is nothing to report.
Thank you, sir. Levy certification. Sir, you look like the guy getting ready to speak. And you're Tom Engler?
Yes, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Branscombe, members of the council, Tom Engler, MBK Engineers. I am the engineer for the Marysville Levee District that's been working on the Army Corps of Engineers project. So I'm here tonight to give a presentation that kind of covers a lot, basically the history of the flood control, just for a lot of background. I'm going to breeze through a lot of that. So I'll breeze through a lot of the historical background, and we'll get to the meat and bones, which is the status of the project and what we need to do moving forward. Next slide. Click it a couple more times. So here you just see the project location. So the Marysville Ring Levee project is part of the bigger Yuba River Basin project authorized by Congress originally in 1999. The levee was Marysville Ring Levee was considered a separable element, and that's how we're able to get it to construction, why everything's going. And as she clicks through this, it was prepared for me. You just got to keep clicking. So the levee protects approximately 12,700 residents, critical infrastructure, and of course, Ride Out Memorial Hospital, now known as Adventist. Next slide. So some of the historical background. Obviously, there's been a history of flooding here since the gold rush days. Great floods of the 1860s resulted in the state legislature forming the Marysville Levee Commission by special act in March of 1876. Levee Commission constructed the ring levee around the city. The U.S. government eventually passed the Jackson Act in 1917, which led to the construction of the Sacramento River Flood Control Project, and they improved all the levees in the system. That's known as the Sacramento River Flood Control Project. It was completed, turned over to the state of California in 1953, and that's the Central Valley Flood Protection Board, formerly the Reclamation Board, if you've heard that. They're the non-federal sponsors for the federal government's project. So in Marysville, we have a great risk to life because of the ring levee. It's a very small area with very deep flooding. So if a levee breaches, it results in very rapid flooding. Risk to life is extremely high. We've presented this to Congress, which is why we continue to get funding. Escape routes become impassable within 1 to 2 hours. The entire city would be inundated within 24 hours. And that's scary because everybody remembers Hurricane Katrina, where people were trouncing through the water. The water here is exceptionally cold during flood events, and people would be unconscious in 15 to 30 minutes and potentially dead within an hour. So that puts a very strong risk to life. This is the reason that this project's been continually funded by Congress. So the next slide, and you can keep clicking through, this just shows the history of how the levees were constructed here. It was raised in stages through 1907, dredge tailings and sand fill after that through the hydraulic mining debris, continued to place earth and fill, concrete walls and various things over time, more earth fill in 1942 where they thought that they had a levee, and then the 1955 flood hit and they came back and widened and raised the levee another 5 feet after the 1955 flood. One thing that's interesting about the Marysville Ring Levee is everybody else has about 3 feet of freeboard, meaning 3 feet above the design water surface elevation. Marysville, after the 1955 flood, was raised to 5 feet above the flood elevation, so we've always been a couple feet higher than the surrounding levees. Next slide. Keep going. So this is just a picture of the 1955 flood where the city's just an island. A lot of you have probably seen this before. Near failures in Marysville, residents evacuated to Yuba City, and unfortunately that's where the levee broke, resulting in 35 deaths. That's when the new higher floodplain was adopted, establishing the 5 feet of freeboard above the 1955 water surface, which is substantially higher than Olivehurst and Yuba City levees. Those improvements were completed in 1962. We performed very well until the 1986 flood. 1986, torrential rains, levee broke on the other side of the highway, flooding Lind and Olivehurst. Widespread damage across the valley resulted in the Army Corps of Engineers performing what they called the system evaluation study. And the Yuba River breached on the other side of the river. Here in Marysville, there were several boils, some damage, and that resulted in some work that we'll get into here in a minute. After that flood, the U.S. Army Corps begins 2 projects. The first, the system evaluation study and repairs. It reevaluated the entire Sacramento River flood control project because of the widespread damage that happened in the 86 flood. It determined portions of the Marysville Ring Levee required slurry walls. Those repairs were completed in 1998. The next thing that happened was the Yuba River Basin California project. So Yuba County Water Agency at the time, now we call Yuba Water, requested what's known as a reconnaissance study to have the Army Corps evaluate a higher level of protection for RD 784 in Marysville. That was completed in 1998, authorized in 1999, and that authorization was to provide a 200-year level of protection to RD 784 and a 300-year level of protection to Marysville. Unfortunately, as that was getting approved by Congress, the 1997 flood happened. Obviously, that was warm rains on top of snow, resulting in a failure in our boga. More importantly, what this did is it highlighted the importance of underseepage as a potential levee threat. So after that, the Army Corps reevaluated all of their projects to figure out if underseepage was properly evaluated. Next slide. So after the 97 flood, the Yuba Water undertook a couple more flood risk reduction initiatives for the residents of the county. 2000, they became the non-federal sponsor for the Yuba River Basin General Reevaluation Report. This is the report to restudy the 1999 authorization for underseepage. And in 2002, they completed the Yuba River Supplemental Flood Control Project to evaluate improvements to provide additional risk reduction to the residents of the county. And then they partnered with the county, Three Rivers Levee Improvement Authority, and the state to implement advanced repairs to RD 784 urban levees. So this is all important for reasons that I'll highlight here in just a second. So the Marysville Ring Levee project, as the Army Corps General Reevaluation Report was underway and ongoing, it became apparent the Marysville Ring Levee wasn't going to change. It needed the work that was originally contemplated. The underseepage was there, and it needed to have the work. So in 2008, we were able to successfully lobby that they break it off as a separable element so construction could begin before the rest of the study was completed. July 2010, the Army Corps completed their engineering documentation report and a three-party partnership agreement was signed. That was between the Marysville Levee District, the State of California Central Valley Flood Protection Board, and the Army Corps. And the reason at that time that we made it a three-party agreement is because the state was having significant budget difficulties, and so we didn't want to be held up by state budget, so we funded it. We became partners as a local agency, so we could continue funding the project if the state couldn't step up. And then in 2010, the Corps initiated construction on Phase 1, which is the reach behind the high school. So the total project cost is $166 million. The project partnership agreement that I mentioned between the Corps, Central Valley Flood Protection Board, and Levee District is a 65% federal, 35% non-federal cost share. The non-federal sponsors are also responsible for all costs associated with the LIRDs, that's lands, easements, rights-of-way, relocation, and disposal areas, and also have to contribute a minimum of 5% cash to the project. We then signed a local project partnership agreement between the state and Levee District that says that the state will pick up 70% of the non-federal cost and the locals have to pick up 30%. That results in about a 10.5% cost share for the city of Marysville. So Yuba Water was the local sponsor. The feasibility study took the lead with the county and Marysville Levee District to manage the study and provide 100% of the local share of approximately $10 million. Their effort also secured $70 million of the $90 million available in the Prop 13 Coastal Machado Water Act of 2000 for Yuba Feather River improvements. Prop 13 and future Prop 1E84 funded the majority of the Three Rivers RD 784 work. That later became the basis for credit for the Marysville Ring Levee. So what happened was after we contributed 5% cash and the LIRDs, the residents of Marysville did not have to pick up another dime to the project. The other good thing about that is the Feather River Setback Levee constructed in RD 784 reduced water surface elevation for the city of Marysville by about 0.9 to 1.6 feet just by setting back the levee and opening up the floodway. So as I mentioned, we've got the credit for all the work that was done in RD 784. You keep clicking on it. And in 2012, they completed integral determination reports to firm up that credit, and we were able to sign an agreement in 2017 that allows our share, which would be up to $42.8 million of the non-federal share. So it's covered approximately 90% of the $12 million local share of the Ring Levee project. So this slide just kind of talks about the federal and non-federal funding. It's not all that important except for you guys to know that all that work that the state and locals did on the other side of the river ended up benefiting us. So this is a Ring Levee project. What you'll notice is the system evaluation work is in brown and orange. That work was the work done in 97, 98. All the green areas are Army Corps of Engineers work that's been completed since 2010. And the three yellow areas, the one down in the bottom is kind of difficult to see, are the three areas that have yet to be repaired. This slide just goes through some of the challenges with the Marysville project, mostly Union Pacific Railroad negotiations. We had 4 separate agreements with the railroad. Started negotiating those in 2012 and finished in 2019. And in construction, we hit significantly more mine tailings in the levee sections, which means we had to import better dirt from further away, which drove up costs significantly. We also had significant PG&E pole relocations. We had to move 142 PG&E distribution and transmission lines. We also had some cultural resource discoveries and had to reevaluate areas previously believed to meet criteria because of those cost increases. So this slide goes through a little bit more detail on the federal funding. Important here is that in 2022, the Corps had to assess the effectiveness of the remaining features. Basically, they were getting up against their cost limits, known as the 902 limit. So that analysis found that the Union Pacific Railroad gap and north area reaches would not adequately improve the overall project performance to justify additional federal investment. So basically what they said is there's a risk there, but it's not enough of a risk to justify additional federal investment. So they completed a semi-qualitative risk assessment. That's a lot of big words that the Corps of Engineers like to use. That risk assessment concluded that the north area, the risk is not tolerable. The finger levee, also the risk is not tolerable. And the Union Pacific Railroad gap concluded the risk is not tolerable. The other two areas they evaluated were the west area, which was the work done in 1998, and they concluded that that work met criteria, so no additional work was needed. And then the east area, which is basically between the railroad crossing and Simpson Lane, Ramirez Avenue, Ramirez Road, there's not enough risk there to justify anything. The risk is very low. After that study, the project design team took a look at it and concluded that despite that risk not being tolerable, it still did not meet economic criteria. So the three gap areas are circled in red here. So the north area we refer to is the Jack-Sioux levee, starting at Highway 20 at the landfill and heading out towards the high school. The one down here at the bottom, the Union Pacific Railroad gap, this is the one at the confluence of the Yuba and Feather Rivers at the wastewater treatment plant. And then what we refer to as the finger levees, this is the Benny Junction Caltrans project. Next slide. So in the north area, the Army Corps originally included 300 feet of slurry wall in their design. The state didn't think that was, there was something not right about the design. So they had GEI engineers take a look at it on behalf of the state. And they concluded that the cutoff wall was definitely needed, but they also concluded that the Corps should probably look because 300 feet of slurry wall might not be enough. As I mentioned, the semi-qualitative risk assessment concluded the risk isn't tolerable, but the subsequent analysis ruled it out for additional investment. And then under contract with the city, we concluded last year looking at it. We hired a certification team to look and make sure the Corps project's going to meet all the criteria. And that concluded that the levee could not be certified to the state urban levee design criteria without additional exploration. The finger levee, this is a little bit more detail than you might want, but basically what happened when they built the highway in 1955 and had to ramp up and over, they relocated and built those levees, and it built it over a shallow sand layer, which creates a seepage path under the levee. So the Caltrans widening project is going to have to lower that road under the bridges, and that makes the condition worse. So Caltrans has agreed to provide slurry cutoff walls as part of their project. They're expected to start that project later this year and go through 28, might trickle into 2029. So we're counting on the Caltrans project to correct that issue. The Union Pacific Railroad gap by the wastewater treatment plant, there's some questions about whether or not the liner is still in good enough condition to stop under seepage. The ponds in the wastewater treatment plant may create seepage paths. The Army Corps originally were considering a berm or jet grout cutoff wall, which is a very expensive remediation measure, but obviously they ruled it out later. Our contractor, HDR, remediation measure, but obviously they ruled it out later. Our contractor, HDR, under contract to the city for levee certification, concluded the levee could not be certified to meet the state's urban levee design criteria. They proposed that the easiest fix would be to fill the ponds. Fill the ponds with material so that there's not a seepage path. Great. So why is all this important? So FEMA mapping in Marysville, FEMA remapping would require homeowners with any federally backed mortgage or anybody with a federally backed loan in the city to purchase flood insurance. And it also imposes strict building restrictions for new construction or improvements to existing structures. New construction would be required to elevate above the base flood elevation, which in Marysville is like something around 25 to 27 feet above ground level. Insurance rates would increase to their new actuarial rates, which would be in excess of $3,000 per home in the city. So what we did is when the FEMA came out and said everybody needs to show us that their levies meet criteria, they did that back in 2008. Marysville accepted what was known as a provisionally accredited levy, saying we don't know if our levies meet, but we need time to figure it out. That allowed 2 years to evaluate, and in January 2011, we received a letter saying your time's up and you haven't shown us anything. But FEMA basically said on the side that because the core project was underway, they would not move on to remapping until the core project was completed. So the other important one here is 2007, the state of California passed significant flood control legislation to reduce the risk of flooding and consequences when flooding does occur. Senate Bill 5 contained provisions most relevant to the urban level of flood protection criteria, ULOP. It requires cities and counties within the Sacramento and San Joaquin valleys to make findings related to urban level of flood protection. So an urban level of flood protection is any levee that protects more than 10,000 people is considered an urban levee. So they need to make these findings before they can enter into development agreements, approve discretionary permits or other discretionary entitlements, ministerial permits that would result in construction of a new residence, or for a project that's located within a flood hazard zone, or approving a tentative map or parcel map for which a tentative map was not required for any subdivision. There's been several amendments. Those aren't important, but basically what this says is unless you can make the findings and figure out that you have 200-year level of protection, you can't do any of these things legally in the state of California. So general plans were required to be amended by no later than July 2015. Zoning ordinance had to be amended within 12 months after the completion of general plan amendments. Criteria were published in 2013 that presented a minimum set of criteria, what we known as the urban levee design criteria. And these are the findings that cities and counties have to make. Flood management facilities provide a 200-year level of protection. The city or county has imposed conditions on development actions that are sufficient to provide a level of 200-year level of protection. The local flood management agency is making adequate progress on construction for a 200-year level of protection by 2025. And for property in areas without a finding of 200-year protection, the property must meet the 200-year level of protection. So if you could not make one of those 4 findings, you could no longer provide those discretionary actions. So with Yuba-Watter's support back in 2018, the last time I was here talking about this, we provided an engineer's report documenting the data and analysis supporting a 200-year level of protection finding. Basically what we said is the core project is underway and when completed, it should provide a 200-year level of protection. We had that report analyzed by a panel of 3 expert engineers, which is required by the guidance. And responses were made. We prepared the report, and all those findings were made appropriately in 2018. All that was funded by a grant from the Yuba-Water Agency. Next. So the next steps are the city contracted effort to perform a gap analysis for levee certification. So basically what we said is even after the core project, there might still be areas where work needs to be done or reports need to be due. There's levee threat assessment reports. So if there's a terrorist threat, what's your plan of action? There's real estate plans. If you don't, the criteria require 20 feet between the levee toe and the nearest fence or encroachments. In Marysville, that's difficult because for 150 years now we've had people 10 feet from the levee toes. So, what are we going to do about that real estate long term? How are we going to address that? So those types of reports we knew we wouldn't have, but we'd be making progress towards getting them. So that analysis was completed last year. It concluded that the core project is far enough along that we can certify it to FEMA as is, but the 2 gap areas may require additional work. So we in working with Jim, we've gone to the water agency and they've approved a grant to do these certifications. So the FEMA certification is about $450,000, and then the work for it to eventually get to the urban levee design criteria certification to make the urban level of protection findings will be about $500,000. Now, it's important to note that last year, Marysville was included in legislation to extend your deadline from the end of 2025 to 2030. So we basically bought 5 years to make all these things happen. Next slide. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions. I said a lot there. I know.
Through the chair. Yeah, I know that we got extended to 2030. What does that do for our insurances until everything's all said and done?
So the FEMA insurance would not change until they remap you. It takes them about 2 to 3 years to remap. They've just initiated that remapping process. So what they've told us is if you guys are able to get us the 100-year certification package, which we believe we have enough to do. Yeah. It's just preparing the package, getting it reviewed, stamped, and sent off to FEMA this year. Then they will not remap the city, so we should be able to avoid the FEMA remapping with the work that's already been done.
For 1 year?
Oh, no, once you certify to FEMA, it's good for until something changes.
Perfect.
So good.
Just one clarification there. Thank you very much. Another subject I had a question on. Being familiar with, I was here in 97 doing a lot of sandbags with the fire department. We were working on the gates. I didn't see any mention of the gates.
Which gates?
Like the gate on Highway 70, the UP gate, Benny Junction, things of that sort.
So some of those gates have been removed. You're talking the closure gates. The one at Benny Junction's been removed. There's still some left on the railroad. Those all meet current criteria. Caltrans will be replacing one of those as part of their project, the one on the east side of the highway behind the high school. Mm-hmm. That one will be getting replaced as part of the Caltrans project. So all of the gates meet criteria, and we don't see any issues with those.
Glad to hear that, because in 97 we were out with torches cutting the bottom half of it, getting over the road tracks before we stacked it with sandbags.
Yeah, those gates are not ideal, but it's very difficult to raise a railroad, so
right.
Got to live with them.
Copy that. So, correct me if I'm wrong, the Fifth Street gate has been replaced with a new bridge, correct?
Correct.
So the main one, just Highway 70, UP. There's one down at the Gap.
I don't believe there's any left on Highway 70.
Is that one gone now?
Yes.
Okay.
The one when they rebuilt the bridge going to District 10, they raised that bridge, so that replaced the need for that gate.
That was a big gate. I'm glad to hear that. So, okay.
So only the railroad gates are left.
Cool. And this has been shared with Frank Levy Commission and so forth. They have all that, because that would also have to change our slow rise flood plan and so forth. So that information, obviously, Jim, I'm sure you have it already. The gates and so forth. Oh, sure. All right, that's all right. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. That was very good.
Absolutely.
Else? Jim had wanted to share. Briefly, though, you know your stuff. I was impressed by your encyclopedic knowledge. I mean, you had the PowerPoints to prompt you, but you've been involved in this particular working around Marysville for how long, personally?
I've been on this project since early 2007.
Excellent, excellent. I was very impressed.
Thank you.
Sure. Jim.
And before I thank people, just to clarify, the city will eventually have to certify the levees based on the engineering analysis.
Correct.
So an action item will come to council probably more than one time, first for the 100-year certification, and later the 200-year certification.
That's correct. So the Marysville Levee District, managed by the Levee Commission, is responsible for construction, operations, and maintenance of the levee. They have no oversight of certification. Certification is a land use issue. So usually the flood control agencies do the work. The cities and counties are the ones that do the certifications.
And then there was also a grant from our generous partner, Yuba Water Agency, to the Levee Commission specifically to do some of that gap analysis.
Correct. So the water agency provided a grant to the levee district to do what we're calling a gap analysis. We're going to go out and do some additional geotechnical explorations and then have those analyzed to see what, if any, additional work will be needed in the north area and the Union Pacific Gap, and that would come back with recommendations for any work that might be needed. So that work is out on the street right now. We're looking for consultants to do the work. So hope to have that contract awarded in late February, early March, and have that work started sometime this year.
So that kind of segues into my thank you. So Yuba Water Agency has been very generous in funding our levee reinforcement, and I did want to thank them for that. They just, as everybody knows, granted us over $900,000 for this analysis, as well as the $300,000 plus for the levee district to do the gap analysis. All of that tied into the certification. I also wanted to thank our planner, Mike Lukin. He was instrumental in getting the extension from 2025 to 2030. He knows a lot of people, including a thank you to Sacramento Councilmember Talamontes. Did I say that right? Karina Talamontes, and Senator Ashby, who sponsored the legislation and generously added us to the legislation, tagging on to Sacramento's request for an extension. So a lot of people helped get that extension, which was critical, and now we just need to execute and get the certifications.
Real quickly, I'm thinking in terms of our sphere of influence. How far north of Marysville into District 10 does our sphere of influence go? That's Ramirez Road, say? It's my understanding, north of town, again within our sphere of influence and therefore semi-relevant, there's the levee along the Feather River, the west.
Yep.
And then, as I understand it, the levee which constitutes the railroad route on the east side.
Correct. That's
No, they're different
yes.
levees, but it encapsulates District 10 out to a point where the ground rises and what have you.
Correct. All the way to Honcut Creek.
Way to Honcut Creek. Now, I've been told, a partner in a rice farm in District 10, we own property on both sides of the railroad levee. I've been told that if in an emergency to get more relief downstream, they would actually blow part of a levee up there further north.
The only agency in the United States that's authorized to, quote, blow a levee is the Army Corps. They do have designated spots on the Mississippi River, but they've never studied designated spots on any levees in California.
Well, these guys didn't know what they're talking about then. Thank you for that.
It's always a conspiracy theory. Every time the water comes up, people are seeing things and thinking that somebody's out there blowing a levee. So
I'll go ahead and quash that conspiracy theory on your behalf.
I'm not saying it's never going to happen. I'm just saying that it's not part of the plan.
And I did want to thank Tom and MBK because they are considered the experts in this levee field, and we're lucky to have them.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, sir.
Absolutely.
First rate. Absolutely first rate. Bravo, bravo. Oh, boy. Let's see. We now move to the Community and Consent Calendar Forum. And this is an opportunity for anyone who wishes to speak on a matter not anywhere on the agenda or on a matter on the consent agenda. If you'd like to speak, you can get speaker's cards, raise your hand, let it be known. Is anybody online? Who's online? Do we have anyone wishing to speak?
I haven't received any, no.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll move then to the consent calendar. And these are matters considered routine and therefore generally approved by one motion, unless a council member or the city manager first requests that a matter be removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion and action. There's 7 items on the consent agenda. What is the will of the council?
I move to approve.
A second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Noting none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Must be unanimous, Madam Clerk. Thank you. We'll move to the discussion and action calendar. And all matters in this section of the agenda, and that's matters 8 and 9, are discussed and will be acted on individually. Members of the public may request to speak on one of these matters, and if so, again, get a speaker's card or get a speaker's card. Raise your hand. You'll be recognized, and you can speak to the matter. Madam Clerk, anyone wishing to speak?
No, not at this time.
Then we will move to item number 8 on the agenda, and it's entitled Parking, Traffic, and Streets Committee Updates and Council Workshop. Here we go. The recommendation is to receive updates from the Streets, Traffic, and Parking Committee, receive input and comments from the full City Council, and provide staff direction regarding available projects and policy options and next steps. And Jeremy, could you share with us who are the members of the committee?
Yeah, so the members of the committee, it's comprised of 2 council members, so Councilmember Rollins and Gilchrist are assigned, and then as far as the city staff, it's our city manager, myself, our police chief, Chief Nabeda, and then our city engineer, John Mallon, and then Jason, who is our public works supervisor. So yeah, with that, our Mayor and council members, this item is an update from our Parking, Traffic, and Streets Committee. This item is designed to give the full council a snapshot of current transportation and street-related projects, the committee discussions, and upcoming decision points. Staff and committee members will walk through recent activities, project updates, identify areas where council input is helpful, and receive direction on priorities and next steps. This is an informational and collaborative discussion item. No formal action is required tonight unless the council wishes to provide specific direction. And we will dive into quite a bit of project-related updates this evening, but I did want to share this committee is extremely productive, and there's also many things that come through our council members and staff, and then staff. I just want to recognize them with making progress on a lot of kind of low-hanging fruit items that come up that we take care of, whether it's signs and markings or other things that come through this committee that don't necessarily need a ton of planning and action, but they're out there taking care of those as well. So with that, we'll start off with our police chief actually has some updates regarding, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to get this, it's not advancing. We'll just have Maggie. So Maggie can advance the slides. But yeah, part of this committee is the monthly updates in regards to traffic enforcement and other items that our police chief oversees. So I'll turn it over to him for those updates.
Good evening, everybody. What you're looking at here is a graph chart of January to November of this year. And it kind of shows you what's going on with our officers, our traffic stops, how many citations are issued on average. And if you look below, you can see each month the number of traffic stops versus the number of citations. And for the traffic stops, that puts us around, on the average, around 290 traffic stops a month, and issuing about 150 to 160 citations a month for traffic-related offenses. This pie chart right here kind of shows you the citation breakdown. Of course, the large green area is 4000A of the vehicle code, and that's expired registration. So it may not be a moving violation, but kind of what you're looking at there is a combination of an officer trying to work traffic enforcement and hunting for criminal violations. A lot of times traffic stops lead to other things once you make contact with the driver. Second being speeding. A lot of them are working radar. And of course on these stops, there you go, third, number 16, you have a lot of unlicensed drivers. So kind of take a look at, you kind of see the breakdown, and that's about it.
If I may, there may have been multiple violations on any individual stop.
Yes.
And pardon me, and the top three across the top, stop sign, stop light, speeding, well, the top four, DUI, those are the ones that pose the most threat to safety, right?
Yes.
That's 8%. A little more than a third of the stops.
What is interesting, if I may, Mayor, is that no insurance, expired registration, and unlicensed drivers represent 57% of the sites given. It's a little scary that we have that much out there.
Questions?
Oh, there was a data point on the previous slide. And I didn't understand it. Traffic detail hours. What's that mean? Is that daily or?
We started actually recording time in August. And so, in other words, it's not just the number of citations written, it's the time spent enforcing traffic violations.
Oh,
because you could be watching a stop sign for 2 hours and not have one violation, but you spent the time there trying to enforce it. And while you're sitting there, you're probably a traffic return. I mean, for people to behave themselves.
Is that per day? Is that per month? What is that?
That's per month. The drop-off...
Pardon me, I'm trying to figure out how in 5.2 hours you can make 184 stops.
Because it's a new... The sergeants weren't having their guys log in. They have to do a special login to track their time for traffic enforcement. They just forgot to do it.
Well, that's pretty damn efficient. 5 hours, 184. Way to go.
We're probably missing some data. That's what they're working on now, and they just started collecting that data. So hopefully those numbers will be more accurate the next time. And these are statistics that we intend to provide on a regular basis.
The real data is the number of stops. Thank you.
All right. Well, now we'll move on to our street paving activity and pavement index. And I'll invite our city engineer, John Mellon, to come up and kind of lead us through these next sections and slides. So there is a lot of info on these. If there's as we move along, we have a lot of info to cover. But if you have questions, just let us know. And like I said, we'll be kind of moving through them, so we don't want to go too far and not answer your questions.
Yeah. So for most of these slides, we can have on the. We're trying to show the contrast in two things. So on the right, we have either the existing or a lot going on, and on the left, we have after we've done projects. So in this case, on the left, we have the condition of the pavement when we did the pavement index study in 2017. That's basically the coloring of all the streets that are now, or that were during when we completed the study. And then on the right, we have the way they are basically today. We just completed two CDBG paving projects, kind of in the, I guess that was the middle area on the east side of East Lake. There's still some work to be done to complete those projects, but the paving's all been completed. I guess we are showing 3 streets that are going to be done under change order to the contractor that haven't been completed yet. But that's just that would be East 16th Street between Ramirez and Sampson, and then Sweezy and Sampson between 16th and 17th. They were within the area of the original environmental document for that project, and then we were well enough under budget with that project that we were able to add them back in to the contract. The contractor hadn't time to be able to do it. But as a result, the PCI rating of the overall system, we kind of rated it by area, length of road, and a couple different ways. And they all come out about the same, but the PCI has gone up basically 11% by this work, and we've paved basically 20% of the streets, whether you figure it by area, length, or otherwise. So, we've done a significant amount with these projects basically since 2017. This is the one that shows the projects that have done the work. So on the left, you see the original PCI map overlaid with all the little projects kind of hatched out in black. And then there's a list of the projects. The first project that started after 2017 was the original CDBG project that paved J Street and 12th Street, and installed curb gutter and sidewalk in the portion that did not have it. And then since then we did like a slurry seal project on 17th. We did the 5th Street Bridge, or both the 5th Street Bridge and the 5th Street project that both contributed to it. When we did SB1 project, we did the paving on B Street, 1st Street, and S Street. And then we did the second SB1 project where we did all the paving out in East Marysville. Did the first phase of 22nd, and then those adjoining streets over there. And we skipped over and did Del Perro kind of in the middle there just because it was probably the worst condition out, and it also runs into the schools. And then this past year we did both CDBG 1 and 2, like I mentioned, in the big area there, green, just east of East Lake. And then we did have the apartment complex. We did the paving around areas in Yuba, 13th and 14th as part of their development, that was city funded. And then the Starbucks and gas station project paved Orange Street. That was another private completed. So that gives you an idea of where we're at with the projects that have been completed. These are the projects that we currently have programmed and funding for. We have the next CDBG project, which is the quadrant that's basically north of Highway 20 and west of Ellis Lake and south of 14th Street. So we're doing all the streets that in that area that we excluded, obviously, the alleys, and then the streets that were completed under the first CDBG project, and then on like East Street, and some of the streets that have been paved by the Caltrans project within the past 10 years. We're not going to do a full overlay on those streets. We're going to do a combination of pavement repair and then like a heavy class 30 seal on those, because it's not in need of as much extensive work as our road streets can be done for. Then the second big project that we have programmed is the East 22nd Street Maintenance and Modernization Project. It basically picks up where we started at the basically traffic circle of China, and then it goes all the way to Olivehurst. Those are the two major projects that we have that are basically outside special funding. We've applied for grants, gotten in, and now we're just waiting for support. Next slide. Well, East 22nd. Do we have the time? I guess that on the next slide that we have the timing where we close it all out?
I can answer the question. We may start that in next paving season, but with cash flow issues, with so many projects, we may delay that purposely till 2027. Yeah.
Right now, the CDBG 3 is basically we have to bid it out. We'll be putting it out for public bid within the next 2 weeks, and then we have to basically construct that this year as part of our funding for the CDBG. The maintenance and modernization grant that we have for East 22nd has a little more leeway for timing. Again, the funding not right.
The other big one is the Ellis Lake Pathway. That's going to be,
which is obviously not paving or not streets, but it affects the overall cash flow. So then this next slide is this is the Caltrans program project. Are we going to bring Cameron in? Yeah.
So what this slide represents is the potential detour routes that Caltrans will use when they're doing the Binney Junction project that we would anticipate repaving and being reimbursed from Caltrans regarding or once the project is done. And Cameron Knutson from Caltrans, the project manager for the Binney Junction project, is here, and he can speak to the project itself and what it's going to accomplish and roughly the time frames, I believe.
Oh, you can just describe it. We'll know what you're talking about, Cameron.
There is a PowerPoint, so if you guys want to look at it and have any questions. It's not a PowerPoint, it's just a PDF of the project, overall project. So our project, as you know, we're going to be redoing State Route 70 from just south of 14th Street all the way up through and up over the Finger Levee as we talked about earlier. The project's going to extend that second lane all the way up through 24th Street. This goes northbound, and we'll add so we'll have 2 lanes going northbound through 24th Street, and then that'll merge down to 1 lane as you go up over the bridge. And coming into town, as you get to that the second bridge or the Binney Junction underpass, we'll be adding a lane, so there'll be 2 lanes coming south all the way down through 14th Street. We're going to replace the 2.
Pardon me, won't it be 5 lanes with a center lane?
Yeah, I was talking traffic lanes, yeah. Okay. So then there'll be a 2-way left turn lane or left turn pockets as necessary on the streets. So, and then standard shoulders throughout the project as well. We'll be, let's see, we're going to add a signal at 16th Street, and we're going to add a signal at 24th Street to help control traffic a little bit and get the flows through a little more steady. We will be adding bike paths on each side of the road and sidewalks, 6-foot sidewalks and 6-foot bike path on each side of the they'll be elevated, the bike paths elevated, same elevation as the sidewalk, and that'll go from 14th Street up to 24th Street. And then, let's see. As part of that construction, we'll be replacing both bridges, the train trestle of the Marysville underpass. We'll be replacing that with a new structure. We're going to build a new structure on the north side of the existing trestle. And we'll be replacing the Binney Junction underpass. The north structure will be building that structure, the new structure, just south of the existing structure. And as part of that, once we get all the structures constructed, there's a lot of retaining walls and things that we'll be doing first. And then once that's done, we'll reconstruct the train tracks to align with the new bridges. And we'll hopefully by the end of the second season get the trains moved over and start the road work. So lots of stuff going on there. Yes, sir. I see you have a question, Mayor.
It's nice that you and our esteemed expert on levies are here on the same evening. You guys will be working hand in glove, won't you?
We have been. Tom is incredible. And you mentioned his knowledge and history of the area, and he's been a very integral part of our communication with the Army Corps of Engineers, and he's a good man. He knows his stuff.
Show your camera.
So,
sure.
You know what I'm going to ask, probably, but
I don't. But there's a lot of things. I know what you're concerned about.
9th and B.
That's not part of my project. That project is also moving forward. We're waiting for some agreements with the railroad. We have. I'm going to be working with Jim to get some. Maintenance agreements, electrical and just general maintenance agreements signed for that, and that project hopefully will be starting construction, we're anticipating in the summer or
this summer?
In the fall. Yeah, that's what we're shooting for.
That's what I wanted to know.
So if everything goes right, that's where we go. The biggest lead on that is the pole construction of the poles, and so that may take a little time to get done, but we can put a lot of other stuff in place. So
good. Thanks, Cameron.
As part of this project, we've worked with the city in an effort to try to not drag it out, to shorten it up as possible. We've talked about some potential detour routes that it makes it much more efficient and faster to shut Highway 20 down when we reconstruct those bridges or tear them down. So during those times, and I don't have those obviously nailed down, I don't have a construction schedule when those will be happening. But as those are known, we'll continue to work with the city. But we're going to potentially use the purple lines up there that are on that map as detour routes. And then as part of our agreement in doing that, we'll reimburse the city to pave those streets and take care of them. So that was huge. That significantly increases the efficiency of the construction and shortens up some of the time frame. Potentially as early as probably.
I'm not going to hold you to it. I'm just
end of 26, probably, but more likely in 2027. And I'll go over the construction schedule a little bit in just a second. But is there any more questions about? So as Tom mentioned, we're going to put in some slurry cutoff walls. There's the seepage issue on the finger levee that was identified, and so as part of our project, we have to relocate some of that east finger levee. And we're going to put in some slurry cutoff walls. It's a deep soil mix, so you won't see the big cranes or the big excavators out there. It'll be the drill system, kind of what they did over on the east levee. It's called deep soil mixing, but it constructs a cutoff wall. So we're going to construct, I believe it's about 1,500 feet of walls, about 700 or 800 on both sides of the levee on the east and west side of that levee will be required. As Tom mentioned, and a question was asked about the floodgate, because we had to move the levee or the train tracks over, we had to relocate that floodgate that's up near the Marysville Cemetery. And so we're going to reconstruct that. We've been working with Marysville Levee District. There's some floodgates that they like and some that they don't, and it has to do with the ease of putting them up if you have a flood event. And so we've been working with them to construct what they want to have. So that's
start in late 26, early 27.
Yeah.
And what's the expected duration of the kind of operation that will require rerouting traffic?
So it's going to be spread out. There's different operations. So when we construct the bridges and then the new bridges, there'll be some times where it'll be set in steel girders that'll require the detouring of the traffic. When we demo the old bridges that are there, that'll require some of the detouring of the traffic. When we lower the road, because the roads are going to be lowered under each of the structures, 6 feet, roughly 6 feet, to give you the vertical clearance so we don't hit the bridges anymore. So that will, when we do that work, we're going to have to do some conform work at 18th Street and then at 24th Street where the roads are lowering. So there's going to be some of those times where we are detouring some of the traffic.
So it'll be intermittent, it won't be constant.
Yes, yeah, it'll be intermittent, and we'll work with the police chief, the fire department, and the city to make sure everybody knows when those are and what we're going to do in case of emergencies and stuff. So we're planning to start. We were hoping to start in June of this year, but that's been pushed back to probably September due to some agreements and things that we're trying to work through with the railroad still. And the city's also, we're working with the city to relocate the sewer. They're going to do that instead of as part of the project. That was a huge help to the project as well. And that obviously will be reimbursed work that the state will take care of. But 26, and that's when we're going to try to start. The first year is going to be building all the structures. The second year we'll be doing the levees, probably in 27, 28. We'll redo the levees and do that cutoff wall. And 29, we'll finish in 29 is what the schedule is now, sometime in 2029.
Thank you.
A lot of stuff.
To the chair, will most of the work be done in the evenings? I know there'll be some times when that might not be.
So
convenient.
anything that is going to require some sort of closure, one-way reversing traffic control, if it's not going to be done under a complete closure, the closures will be done at night. So the one-way reversing work will be done at night. There's going to be the majority of the work for the first 2 years is going to be off-highway. So there's going to be relatively small impacts that people will notice. There will be some times that we do the detours when we're doing some of the structures stuff, but a lot of the bridge abutments, the retaining walls that we have to build, bringing in the fill to move the new tracks, all that stuff is going to be, it's mostly off-highway work. And so that the big stuff is going to be that you'll see those closures and different things probably won't be till like the third season. And even then, but to your point, we won't interrupt normal traffic throughout the day typically on a regular basis. It will be night work that does the closure stuff.
Hey, you said third season.
Yeah.
How many seasons are we looking at?
3. It's going to take probably 3 seasons.
Once you said 3, I was worried there was 4 and 5.
No. 3. The heavy work that people will see, and it'll be up front and in your face, that's when we're lowering the road and all that stuff. That will be in that third season. So people will see more things, but they're not going to be they're not going to be impacted as much. So
2029.
yeah, yep.
Oh, gosh.
So we have traffic control stuff that where we shift traffic on, keep them on the old part for a while we build the new, then we shift them, and so we have a pretty extensive traffic handling plan that we're working through, trying to work. It's not all set, but it's a pretty good idea.
What's happened to your budget on this from your initial budget estimate?
It's gone up. It's gone up. Yeah, we started. Yeah, it's gone up significantly. We've had to adjust it at least 3 times so far. Yeah.
Anything else?
You bet.
We have the Caltrans projects, and then now we get to the meat of the traffic committee recommendations. This is the next projects that we're looking at putting the FP1 money on. We're primarily focused on the downtown area. The part of what spurred the downtown area is we're already getting some money from the county as part of their kind of mitigation for the courthouse project. So they're chipping in. So streets related to that project is 5th Street between B and C Street between 5th and 6th, and 6th Street between B and C. And they gave a little bit because they did have some trenching on 5th Street between C and D. So we added that. We also, the other major street that's in need of a lot of work is 4th Street, and that's why we're looking at 4th Street basically from the railroad tracks over to have the gap in the middle where we cross Caltrans Railroad. And then we also included as part of the work in the off 5th Street is the regard to a way behind the city hall police department. So those are kind of the meat and the bones of the downtown area. And then we're trying to figure out how we're going to fit it in, but we've identified the worst street in East Marysville that didn't fall within the CDBG criteria, that it's a high traffic area because a lot of people use it to get to the schools, is Houston Street between 17th and 19th. So that's the other alternative street that we kind of have in the list that the committee is recommending. I guess we're not getting into the nuts and bolts of dollars and cents on the chart. Again, we're just kind of going with the overview of the streets.
I will just say we've accumulated roughly $1 million in SB1 funding, and we intend to spend roughly $800,000 to $850,000 of it, leaving some in there for unforeseen circumstances.
It would be interesting, if I may, it would be interesting to see. I'm from that. Someone's going to come up and say, "What have you done for me lately?" The city in general, right? So it would be interesting to see from 2020 forward one thing that showed what we did, and you can color code them differently, what's been done with each project, and then what's planned for the immediate future that's really visible.
I think the next slide kind of shows it.
Yeah, so this is the next slide that we kind of have, and it shows the green ones are what have been done.
Pavement study. I'm looking at that, and there's so damn many colors on this thing. I don't know what the hell it is.
Well, that's what I was going to explain. So the green are the ones that have been done. The purple.
No, he's looking at this one back here.
Are the basically the program in the very near future, and the pink is the recommendation of the traffic.
So 2028 is a collection of all.
Yeah.
And that's starting when?
2017.
Oh, okay.
2028.
Okay, well, that's good enough. Okay, I didn't understand
Yeah,
that.
so basically that's what I was getting to. You kind of jumped the gun a little bit, but yeah. So basically, we go back to our PCI that we were looking at in 2017, and we were 55.9, and then after we complete the current projects plus these projects that would put us at about 73 and paving basically 34% of the city's streets. We're in that basically. I got 2028. How can?
Yes.
How can it be 29? We're given. Once they're done beating on the road, that's when we're going to be paving. So yeah, it may be an extra year out, but that's basically the gist of showing, what we've done, what we have funding for, and then also what we're looking at doing in the future. That gives you kind of the overall look at the projects. It's impressive when you look at it compared to what a lot of other agencies are capable of doing. And I think the biggest contribution is our ability to get the CDBG grants. Three grants in a significant area with them. We have the potential for more. And actually it's 4 grants already because the initial project in 2018 was also a CDBG project.
Oh, Measure C.
Measure C and G.
We haven't used any general fund dollars since we did the large paving project up very northeast Marysville, those streets in the green towards the top, this area.
Yep.
And we spent roughly $3.5 million of city funds.
Yeah, that was Measure C and G, effectively, right?
Yeah, it was kind of a built-in pot of injection funds on that end.
Yeah, well, that's what Measure C, Measures G, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's what it's for, public safety and streets, basically.
Yeah. So that kind of gives you here we are, where we're going. This is where you.
Yeah, so these are. This is one of the current grants, Reconnecting Communities or RCN grant. This one, Marysville was awarded the $500,000 in funding through SACOG, and then the city staff will continue to develop the traffic calming program and green zone downtown for this one.
And we just received proposals on this one from consultants, right?
Right. Next slide. And then, the outcomes, here's the outcomes that we're looking at is develop the consensus concepts, to reconnect areas divided by Highway 20 and 70, improve safety, air quality, and downtown livability, coordinate with Caltrans in the city. We're also working to identify the multimodal improvements, incorporating the transit, bike, and pedestrian access. And we're looking at that. Those things go back to the RFQ or RFP that we just issued. We're looking to the consultants to provide those concepts and studies, and we have some adults as well in that regarding the quiet zones as well. So, although we don't foresee there being enough funding in this, we are trying to look ahead and at least get a rough idea of what those costs are going to be on those, because it is related work there. And then also implement 3 traffic calming demonstration projects, pilot or permanent, to test real-world effectiveness. So we'll continue to work on those and bring those forward as well. And then deliver a prioritized roadmap to guide future capital funding and implementation. So still a lot of work to do on this one, but we'll continue to work on that and bring it to the council in the future. And then looking ahead on the future.
Before you move on,
yeah,
I want to ask a question back where you said there. On the traffic calming, you said we're going to put in some more pilot programs, and then it says permanent. Will that be doing something to complete 14th and making that permanent, or will that be done when we do all the streets over there? Or do we know yet?
So the RCN grant is focused on the downtown area, not 14th Street area. These traffic calming demonstration projects will likely be in the downtown, first, or A to E, the levee to 10th.
Well, let me ask then, when will 14th go from pilot to permanent?
We have some slides further ahead to address.
I'm sorry, okay. Didn't mean to jump the gun.
I do want to say, to me, the most important part of this is developing a plan for the future projects. The last bullet item, we're wanting to lay out the entire downtown area with traffic calming measures and complete street plans, so that when we have a grant opportunity, we can pursue it and be ready to go.
Next slide. So CDBG is upcoming for the future rounds. Recommend continued focus on the streets. The 2025 round due in April will be competitive, not first come, first serve. That's a difference compared to the most or the active CDBG rounds. I think 1, 2, and 3, right? Were first come, first serve. Yeah. So this next one is going to be a little different. That will be competitive, but we're working with our consultant as well to put us in the best position to go after that. And then they are looking ahead. They are kind of switching things up. The 2026 round due fall 2026. We'll be back to a first come, first serve, and then 2027 they'll be going back to a first come, first serve as well. So with that, we anticipate, like our city manager mentioned, developing these projects, getting them ready, and then going after them like that we have on the previous ones with CDBG 1 through 3, of really getting them ready and going after that first come, first serve, because it seemed to serve the city well and really pull down that funding. So yeah, and so this is
yeah, we have basically there's two census tracts that our consultant identified the CDBG funding. The area in the north, almost call it kind of the northwest. I guess the northwest is East Marysville. What? Yeah. It's in several different neighborhoods, but yeah, that's the one census tract, and then the other census tract involves the downtown area, east of East Street. We're basically east of Highway 70 and south of Highway 20.
And if I could interject, there's two areas that the consultant pointed us to based on their disadvantaged community status. They both have pretty much the same low mod score of 67. We were a little surprised that this area in East Marysville had such a high, which means lower, high percentage, which means a lower, higher poverty rate.
Lower household income.
Yes. We believe that is driven mostly by the housing in the east part of that quadrant. So, and likely the grant would not fund that entire area. We would get as much done on the worst roads that we see in there.
We did mention that when we were talking to our consultants, this year with the competitive, the pool is a little bit smaller, so we're looking at the same 3 million roughly max project size. But come back with a slightly bigger project next year. That's the key. The key to all these is that basically you have to have a project ready to go, and that's what we've done so well on. Is we basically identified the area, gotten everything monitored, and ready to go.
And first come, first serve meant we had to have everything ready to submit, and basically when it opened, press a button, and whoever pressed the button fastest got to the top of the list.
But we also, with the first CDBG project, we had some technicalities that pushed the bottom of the list.
Yeah.
The list changed. It pushed up, and that's the reason why 1 and 2 are basically
They've changed it for this coming year, and then we'll switch it back. But this year, there's criteria, evaluation criteria, that it's not who can press the button fastest this time. It'll be, okay, what are how do you do relative to their scoring criteria?
The next slide just kind of shows, these two, the one on the left shows these two areas in the current pavement index underneath them, and then the other one just kind of shows the areas by themselves. For our project, like Jim had mentioned, that if we did all the streets in that upper surface tract area, we exceed the $3 million budget. So we're focusing on the east half, working our way to the west, where you can see where that. I always forget what's that. It starts with Houston, the Faust, Edwards, we eliminated Del Perro by already doing 30,000 west side of Del Perro, except all those streets are going out the same time. You see the same they're all in the same position.
And so, this is where the committee is recommending doing that eastern quadrant rather than the downtown area. And there are a few reasons we can explain. I think we've got additional slides to do that, but we want feedback from council as to whether to make sure that we're moving in the right direction using CDBG or applying for CDBG in that top section.
All right. Yeah, going back to some of the additional upcoming funding opportunities, there's also the maintenance and modernization funding opportunity, likely 25-26 through SACOG. And going back to what Jim just mentioned, some of these in that recommendation are the thoughts that some of those areas in the downtown will be a better fit for some of these other funding opportunities coming up, as well as it gives some time to go back to some of those other things of traffic calming and doing those pilots and other things as well. So this funding opportunity is the types of projects, paving, PCI, rehab, ADA and ped safety as well, and then biking calming, and then those typical award sizes are $3 to $5 million. We'll see what happens. It's kind of in the air. Some of these programs may go down slightly, but then some of the others are expected to actually receive some additional funding and the awards to be a little larger when it comes to some of the other programs.
And to Vice Mayor's comment, this might be a place to get some of those pilot programs on 14th permanently done. This is the funding source that could be used.
Yeah, and then the ATP funding round in spring 2020.
What's ATP stand for? We have so many acronyms. No, I know what it meant. CDBG is Community Development Block Grant.
So this one is actually one of the ones that is anticipated to receive some additional or increased funding in spring 2027. Similar to the last, pedestrian facilities, bike facilities, that traffic calming and speed management, safe crossing and signals. This one also expands to the lighting and visibility, and then back to the ADA and universal access, and then the active transportation support goes to the bike parking, corrals, lockers, wayfinding, additional street furniture, and then as well as curb management for deliveries, so ride hail for the ride share programs, and to reduce conflicts, to help improve flow as well. So this is that is another one we'll be targeting heavily. Some of those potential projects are the Ellis Lake pathway improvements, the southwestern and western sides, and then the complete streets traffic calming citywide, focus on downtown school zones and areas identified by the Mode Shift program, the RCN, and regional. The RSAP is that Regional Safety Action Plan. That you'll be hearing more actually at the next meeting, presentation for that as well, that identifies some of those areas.
I got a question on I don't know who can answer this, but on the Ellis Lake pathway improvements where we're talking about doing the west side and the southern side, do we have any clue, and Cameron may even know, if they're when they do the curb, and they've talked about different projects going down 9th Street, would we lose anything that might then had been affected by that south work? Or would all that project stay within the existing curbs? Curb to curb, basically. Just the corner.
Nothing on it.
And one thing that we forgot to mention when we were talking about all the CDBG projects that we completed is as part of those projects, we have to put radios at all the corners, and put a big. It's been a big step in our ADA transition plan by doing this project too, because we have whole areas out there in these areas that are with zero events, and being able to put them in as we go with these projects, even with the CDBG 3 and Northwest projects, there were some that were completed by previous projects, but there's still a lot missing in there. That helps a lot with our ADA transition plan and increasing mobility.
Is there separate funding for those, or do those both fall under the CDBG?
Yeah, that's actually part of the requirement by CDBG.
So it's all under that one funding?
Yeah, all under that one. Basically, like it cuts down on the amount of paving we can use, but also use up some areas that increases mobility.
All right, and then moving on, some of the other potential projects, the bike head tunnel planning that we talked about a little in the last few months in the priority planning. And the first step to that would be the initial feasibility, schematic design, those types of things. And then the quiet zone planning as well.
That's train quiet zone.
Yes, yeah, train quiet zone. And then this is some additional info on the train quiet zone funding. So we've been looking at that potential funding, some one of the biggest ones that we're most familiar with is through the SACOG regional funding round, the maintenance and modernization. Would be a good one there to continue to look at. But we will explore all these other ones as well as we move forward with that. And then this goes back to that 14th Street bike ped tunnel funding. Similar, a lot of these provide funding as well. And then this opens up some additional through the ATP program that we just discussed, and some of these other CPUC offering Section 190 grade separation funding.
And I want to note, if you ever bend or freshen up this slide, it's to deal with the divided city problem. It provides access. There's no active transportation access, east to west.
Yeah.
Very little, I should say. Yeah. Less than minimal.
Yeah, right. And that's, go ahead.
Isn't that part of that RCD grant? The top.
There are a whole bunch of potential opportunities listed here. All of these have the potential to fund a reconnecting cities type of project. If you look, the U.S. DOT is very specific, reconnecting communities and neighborhood funding opportunities. That's exactly what we're talking about. But these are, we on both the train quiet zones and the bike ped tunnel, we have to get those initial feasibility studies and conceptual designs done first.
Anyway, have reconnecting communities in your headline there. That's really the headline.
All right, next slide. And then in regards to bus and truck routes, heavy vehicle creates the excessive wear and tear on the city streets. And so, moving forward, we'll continue to look at that, discussing the bus route wear with Yuba-Sutter Transit. And then we'll be recommend removal of truck routes in East Marysville once the Binney Junction project is completed. That's another one that would help that. And then also we'll, going back to some of the ADA concerns, some of those things that we've heard is bus stop related too. So we'll continue to work with Yuba-Sutter Transit to try to close those gaps between some of the bus stops and access barriers between the bus stops and the city right-of-ways as well. So with that, just to kind of wrap things up, the recommendations are to pursue the various grants, enforcing speeding, DUI, distracted driving, ped bike safety-related violations. Like Jim mentioned, use approximately $850,000 of the SB1 and the county funding to complete the paving of the previously identified downtown streets. And then focus next on the maintenance and modernization opportunities on the downtown, and then focus next the CDBG rounds that we talked about. Really, all those rounds coming up, we'll continue to pursue those, and then develop the two applications for the next ATP round, the downtown complete streets, and then the Ellis Lake South Path package. And then apply for the next round of state recreational trails, RTP, for Ellis Lake. That's another potential opportunity we can, and funding source we can use to move that work forward there as well. And then submit a Section 130 diagnostic request for quiet zone crossing to the CPUC, rail crossings and engineering section. And then use RCN grant results to complete limited traffic calming and complete streets improvements in the downtown area. And then use RTP and then RSAP bike and ped plan results to develop a comprehensive list of traffic calming and complete street projects. And those are those plans and action plans. We'll incorporate those recommendations moving forward, to identify and prioritize those projects. And then work to identify funding to do planning, design, environmental work for train quiet zones and 14th Street pedestrian tunnel projects. And then aggressively pursue the SACOG maintenance and modernization and complete streets and traffic calming projects.
Okay, let's see.
That's all? Okay.
I have, I'll go last. Any comments, questions?
I would just like to say I think you guys did a great job, including the committee and everyone. That's fantastic, and you guys have made a great presentation for us to understand what's going on. So thank you, and thank you guys.
If I may, I'd like to thank Cameron for being here and adding his input. This committee, after public safety, in terms of priorities, streets and traffic are next. Always will be. It's what we deal with every day. And so the scope, I mean, long list of recommendations because you're looking at a lot, right?
Oh, yeah.
A lot to talk about, therefore all the damn slides, I do have, could you go back to one of the slides that shows the overview of the city? There you go. That was the other one. There we go. Now, we know that, left-hand side, you see Highway 20 comes in at the levee, at the northeast. And it's 55 miles an hour all the way down to Covalad, where Covalad intersects. Well, almost all the way to Covalad. Even though it's supposed to slow to 45 or something, they're still going 50 when they cross Covalad. And a lot of truck traffic. And I remember campaigning that neighborhood and how the closer I got to the highway, louder the noise. And it reminded me of when I did this project, I think it was in college, but it was on sound pollution. Sound is one of the way people are tortured by sound is because your body, you cannot not react to it. Your body will react to sound. And so I was wondering if it would be worthwhile to take some sound measurements during the day when traffic is heavy there, when the trucks are coming through. Because it's loud. It's really loud. And consider, and maybe Caltrans has some ideas. I mean, obviously a 12-foot high sound wall would be wonderful and really freaking expensive, right? That'd take up a few years of CDBG probably. But, densely planted oleanders, I don't know what does the trick. But I would bet Caltrans has data on what are good sound suppressors. And it would be interesting to do that because quality of life and value of property and attractiveness of the city writ large would improve. That's a long stretch. That's a lot of neighborhoods, clearly within 2 blocks is where the sound is. If some measurements could be taken and consideration could be given by the committee to maybe including that on a list of things. This is not a criticism. The scope of what you're taking on is huge. I'm not trying to make your life more difficult, but it's a thought I just can't shake. Other than that, I thought it was a fabulous presentation. And I really like once I got pointed at the chart that shows what have you done for me lately. It's substantial. And then you throw in what's in the foreseeable future, real projects. Good for us. Anyway, great job by the committee and by management. Management's tightly involved in all of this. They're really the leaders, and I'm real happy to see all this.
I just have a question, comment on what you said there on the Highway 20 and putting some kind of sound wall or whatever. Is all that large shoulder between the highway and the fence line there, is that ours or is that Cameron or is that yours? Up to the fence is yours? Okay. Well then you guys should toss a little money in there.
We'll define the problem and catch you in a weak moment.
Yeah.
I had a couple of comments. You can see that these projects are interrelated, and we're trying to match timing of projects up. Like Cameron's Finney Junction project is tied to the levees, tied to work that we're anticipating. So that becomes a challenge for our staff to make sure all that lines up. The other challenge is just matching the right grant to the right projects, and so we're still working on that as a committee. We're intending to go down and talk to the SACOG staff because some funding rounds are coming up very soon, and we want to make sure our projects align with their funding opportunities as we suspect them. We're also trying to tie these projects into our priorities. So you saw a recommendation for Ellis Lake. Ellis Lake has been a priority since I've been here, and we obviously want to finish that pathway. To add to that interrelationship and complexity, we know the Yuba Water Agency is going to be building a headquarters on the West Shore, and so is there an opportunity to utilize what they're doing and what we want to do to get more out of the west side path expansion and drain the lake and do all that stuff. So that's a whole nother complex thing we're going to be looking at and coordinating with Yuba Water Agency. So yes, I did want to thank staff and John, our consultant, for all the work they've put into this in planning, as well as our two council members who have been very, very active in this.
I'd like to compliment us, the city, on you have to have these in place, studies and planning to make you eligible for a lot of these grants. So, as a resident, I look at Caltrans, but I look it's exciting to see the changes that have happened in this paving, all that stuff. And projects and studies that help us to our fund that become eligible. I commend you as a
Very kind.
To the chair, I just wanted to thank you guys too. I know sometimes I have some pretty designated areas. I have spreadsheets that I take and I update and say the street needs repaired.
You're not going to sneak anything past Marjorie.
You need stop signs. You need school. Paragon School needs a school zone. And there's this down here on Covalot that needs to be repaired, and so they try to, like they said, mark off a few as they can.
Well, as Cameron says, it's prioritizing your list, making sure your list is sensitive, as Jim has been making reference to, sensitive to the potential funding opportunities. We want to have a convergence of our planning and visibility into these funding opportunities. So we're planning and creating the feasibility for something that's really possible, rather than, they're not going to look at that for 10 years.
Have a list. And I have a list. So
it's that convergence that's critical. Again, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
See y'all later.
Thanks.
Well, if you had 7:30 on the under, you lose. Real quick, this should not take too long, I don't think. Item number 9 on the agenda, EPA grant discussion. The recommendation: the city intends to apply for an EPA brownfields cleanup grant later this month. For the application requirements, the city is having a public meeting so the community has an opportunity for public comment regarding the draft analysis of brownfield cleanup alternatives and application. A copy of the grant application, including the draft analysis of brownfield cleanup alternatives, is available for public review and comment at the Marysville website or at City Hall in the city clerk's office. We'll be happy to provide you with some. Comment on the draft application, please email msanchez, Maggie, at marysville.ca.us or, Jeremy, how do you pronounce your damn last name?
J. Chapdelaine. So Jeremy Chapdelaine.
Chapdelaine. Yeah. Forgive me. I'll get it straight one of these days. Well, yeah, just like it's spelled. Do you put the D in there? Chapdelaine?
Yeah.
Chapdelaine. Jeremy J. Chapdelaine at marysville.ca.us. And the contact in presenting is Mr. Chapdelaine.
Yeah. So we've had the prior presentations on this. So really, this is we don't need to go through all that.
Public exposure, right?
Yeah. So we still wanted to give this last opportunity. We'll be applying for the grant next week, and so as the mayor mentioned, the mayor covered this well for me. He took most of my talking points, but there's still opportunity for the public to provide input on this, and it's highly encouraged. Our grant application requires it, and they'd like to see that input from the community as well. And so, yeah, again, that there's the application, draft application, as well as the draft ABCA or the analysis of the different alternatives posted on the city's website for the public to review and comment on. We'll continue to monitor that and incorporate those comments into our application package, and so really that's all we have here tonight. We will, if there's anybody for public comment tonight, feel free to comment. As also, we do have the sign-in sheet out in the lobby, so please sign that. Even if we don't receive the comments, it does show the participation of the community for the outreach and those types of things. So with that, I can answer any questions, or we can go to public comment if the council prefers that, and come back to the council.
Well, public comment first. Any potential public comment, Madam Clerk?
I haven't received any.
Anybody want to raise their hand? Nobody online? Well then, council. Well, I think we're jumping through. These aren't just hoops. The federal government, they're not sitting here. They don't know what the hell we're doing. They don't know how important this is, right, to us. Yeah. So they want to see that we do these steps, and they're reasonable steps. We're going through them, and this is one of them. So cross the T's, dot the I's, cross your fingers, and hope it works, right?
Yeah, for sure. So just the brief update is we have continued to refine the applications. We do have a local assistance consultant that's assigned through the program that has been providing us reviews and edits. So we did receive more of those last week. We incorporated those edits, and we're really trying to get our final package together, and actually to try to do one more review with them later this week, and then application next week. So we're in good shape. So.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, sir, very much.
You.
Committee reports and comments. Councilmember Rollins.
I have about 6 items, but I'll just narrow it down. I attended the MBA meeting, Dan and Jim. The chairperson has resigned. The committee continue its work, try to get a new chair. I will be beginning my service on the committee starting this month with the Yuba-Sutter Food Bank as the board of director. I just wanted to pass on that Supervisor House and Recology are hosting a cleanup event on January 31st at 8 a.m. Any Recology resident customer in Marysville can drop off their loads at the dump for free until noon. Please bring your bill and address for verification. That's a great service. If you have any neighbors, maybe it is kind of that mattress out there. You can go to the dump for free.
Get it out of your front yard.
Yeah. So I think it's good information. If you know somebody that needs the help, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilmember Gilchrist.
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to thank city staff for your incredible work on this traffic, streets, and project presentation. Thank you, Jim. Chad, for 4 years before Margie Rollins was on the council, I was hounding Jim constantly. When are we going to get this done? And so I am so grateful that this year, within a year, we've been able to pull all of this together. It is one of the most widely asked questions. When am I going to get my road fixed? And we wrote them all down, and thank goodness for Margie Rollins for making lists. I don't like making lists because I can never read my own handwriting. But she did it, and I have to thank you, Margie, very much. And you made it easier for city staff, and Jim, thank you for pulling together a strong and responsive team. Chief, everyone here, thank you. And then, so that's my committee, that's our committee, Parking, Traffic, and Street Committee. I'm on another committee, the Homeless Coalition, and I'm sure we've all heard that the Salvation Army Depot is closing down operation. Margie Rollins and I, Jim Shad, and Dan Flores was in the urgent meeting held in lieu of the committee meeting. It's just simply closing because of the maintenance and the deferred maintenance on that building. So we have yet another building on our horizon that's just going to...
That used to be a fabulous building. It was, at one point, my wife and I, we had a house in East Sacramento, and the original builder in the 1920s was the engineer working for the railroad, not a toot engineer, but building those depots, train stations. He must have scabbed all of the finest material for the place he built because it was a masterpiece inside of mahogany, and all of the floors were quarter-sawn oak. Everything was just perfect. So in that building, I remember it when trains stopped there. And it was magnificent. I don't know if it could be restored or if it's beyond that.
No, well, the problem is, if I remember correctly, is the building is one thing and the property is another. And so you cannot own the property. I don't think you've ever been able to own the property. And do you remember Dan Desmond? He attempted to turn that into a restaurant years ago. And so that building.
Is it the railroads?
It is. Yeah, so you don't even get to own.
99-year lease or something?
Wow. Anyway, so
how did the Salvation Army come across the building? This is just information. We're not discussing it.
But so anyway, part of my committee reports is that building is going to be empty, and there you have it. So again, thank you, city staff, for all of your hard work.
Short and sweet. I want to say thank you for all the hard work. since I got elected in 18, roads have been on my platform. And I just want to say thank you for giving us a quantifiable number of what we've been able to do since then. So thank you for all your hard work and everything, guys. And you guys too on the committee. Thank you. Thank you.
Expect one of those graphics to show up in a campaign ad.
I only had one committee report, but Councilmember Rollins covered it with a RWMA with a cleanup, so that's great. You got that done. I wanted to thank you. There's a lot of potholes out there that you've been filling. I don't know how you're fitting them in there to do, but there's been quite a few, and I got a few more to call you with. But you're doing a great job. And to the staff, you guys are, I don't know how you're getting it all done. So, but you're doing a great job, everyone. So, thank you.
I agree with that. Let's see, committees. I go to this General SACOG meeting once a month, and the Transportation Committee meeting once a month. Nothing really affecting us too much right now. We keep our ears open, looking for opportunities there. It's interesting. The public transportations, buses, and trains, they're heavily funded, heavily subsidized. I think SAC-RT keeps track of, they don't do seat per mile, an occupied seat per mile. I think they'd be embarrassed if they did. But they do put a dollar sign next to each boarding. $12 per boarding. And I wonder what it is in our local RT. But I worry sometimes SAC-RT looks like a jobs program more than a transportation program, but it's got the biggest executive suite I've ever seen. But we watch that and look for opportunities for the Marysville, but we also we participate in doing right by the entire region. That's the main job. A member of the committee looking into the Cal water and the price of water, and I had meetings recently looking at paths forward, all of which are long and challenging, but we are earnest in our approach to it, and we'll see where we end up. We'll come up with something. I may recommend at some point we give a status report on the problem and the potential solution or solutions and the challenges associated with challenges, the upside and also the challenges in achieving an upside for the city that other one right now. Have we formed that Measure G committee?
That's coming.
Would you also put on there, I'd like to present the idea of a public safety ad hoc committee comprised of the vice mayor and myself. Get the council closer to the largest portion of our budget. And we can discuss that next time, but I wanted to air that right now. Comments. The lake water. Water, we got lots of rain, and then I saw the water in the lake go way down, so apparently they're letting the good water in and the bad water out. Or
We typically drain the lake substantially before a big water event, big rain event, so that we have extra capacity, and that helps flush the lake out as well.
Yeah, looking good. People are still out. People are out there in the rain fishing. Any council correspondence, Madam Clerk?
Not tonight, no.
That's good news. Thank you. Mr. City Manager.
A few items. First of all, the MPD to Yuba County Sheriff's Office dispatch switchover has occurred, and all seems to be running well, according to our Chief Hegstrom. And we did have a fire event at Field and Stream, which our firefighters took care of quite quickly, but it has raised some concerns about the fire protection in that building, and I believe we'll be doing some additional inspections there. I also wanted to say that our own Jeremy Chapdelaine has been serving as the city building official, and we also have an internal building inspector, David, and I have heard virtually no complaints, knock on wood, about the service provided. I know Jeremy and his staff have also been much more involved in the code and blight enforcement activities, and it's been refreshing. So, if you do hear any issues with building inspection, please let us know, and we'll address them quite quickly. Developer luncheon coming up. This is where I'm going to need Dan's help. Tomorrow, and it's been moved to a different location, which the reason it was moved was because of the volume of people that have signed up for it, and I believe we have at least 3 council members going.
Yes, that's correct. We had a lot of people sign up, more than expected. That was the limiting factor originally, where we didn't send out invites to everybody, but now we welcome everybody because we have a lot of room. But we have about 50 participants at this point.
That is a good problem to have, I think. Next item, the clubhouse, the virtual golf, has had its soft opening, and I heard the first day of business that they were packed. So I believe we'll be having a official ribbon cutting at some point.
Yes. Yeah, they had a great day. Yep. Good turnout, and everyone that I've spoken to had a lot of fun there, and they were booked for 3 days solid.
Is there an associated facility providing adult beverages?
They actually provide the adult beverages there. They don't have food at this point, but you can order out, as some friends of our vice mayor did. They ordered pizza that came in, but they serve beer there and other drinks as well.
And I'm looking forward to seeing it.
The other soft opening was Quenchies and Munchies, and I believe our finance director did a taste test today, and 2 thumbs up for the lemonade, I believe. And what was the
Croffle?
The Croffle,
yeah.
Which is a croissant / waffle. Probably not a good thing to feed your kid in the car, though. And then we have the 175th birthday coming up. I know Dan and Sapphire Marketing have been working like crazy on that with some of the community, and I think Margie's been helping with that. Not yet. Okay. And then we're also working on the 4th of July with Sapphire, and have primarily been, my involvement has been just making sure we have enough funding to do the events. There will be more on that, though. And last of all, Congressman Lamalfa's funeral is this Saturday. Mr. Flores and I plan to attend, and I'm guessing it's going to be a very well-attended event. That's all.
You should note that in order to attend, you need to sign up online in advance and they will send tickets out. They said 2 days before, so Thursday, you'd be to expect your tickets Thursday. It starts at noon. Parking lot opens at 9:30. It'll be well attended. And it looks I'm guessing there'll be some senior people from federal side, perhaps the Speaker of the House. Who knows? Doug Lamont was well liked. He was loved.
That's all I have.
Sure. Let's see. Our next regular City Council meeting will be in February. February 3rd, Tuesday, February 3rd at 6 p.m. We're adjourned.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Tonight on Yuba-Sutter.live,
The 6:30 p.m. Marysville Unified School Trustees meeting will carry after the Marysville City Council meeting is finished. Yuba-Sutter.live's Government Watch, presented by plumaslakeselfstorage.com. Wednesday,
local government meetings made shorter. For your information, we pull out informative sections and present them individually. For your information, posting Wednesdays here on Yuba-Sutter.live.
Yuba-Sutter.live. It's the truth that comes through.
Hi, I'm Neil Goforth of Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties. Caring for elders or even yourself has challenges. Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties can help you address today's issues and plan for tomorrow with in-home and specialized care for you or your family members. Call us at 530-749-8800. Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties.
in Yuba County, there's a legendary diner.
Oh, it looks delicious. Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Where the parking lot tells a story. A story as simple as biscuits and gravy.
The food is good. The prices are wonderful. My dad has so many friends here that come here, and it's my dad and mom have known Mary Jane and her dad before Duke.
Duke's Diner on 7th Avenue, home of legendary chili, holiday pies, and generations of local residents preparing tasty, hearty food for generations of local people. Join Mary Jane and her genial associates as they serve meals you'll come back for. Duke's Diner on 7th Avenue, Olivehurst.
Next week, here on Yuba-Sutter.live,
Tuesday, Government Watch, presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage at plumaslakeselfstorage.com. At 9 a.m., the Yuba County Supervisors regular meeting. At 3 p.m., the Sutter County Supervisors regular meeting. There's no Marysville Unified School Trustees Tuesday meeting next week. It's been moved to February 10th. But there will be the regular 7 p.m. Tuesday Yuba City Unified School Trustees meeting. Government Watch.
That's happening next week, right here on Yuba-Sutter.live.
Yuba-Sutter.live. It's the truth that comes through. Yuba-Sutter.live. It's the truth that comes through.